Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Which is peace on Yahweh's holy Sabbath day. Welcome to another holy convocation that Yahweh has enjoined unto us here in Stone Mountain, Georgia. Please forgive my tardiness today. Of course, we did celebrate our new moon. We did observe our new moon last night. So push me back a little bit, but praise Yahweh for these are things that Yahweh has said are important unto him. And right now, you know, we have to deal with the things of the daughter of Babylon, but we must continually move to make these things that are important unto Yahweh. We must make these things an importance unto us. We are supposed to seek the wisdom the same way we seek silver and gold. So when you put that in perspective, look at all of the things that we go out of the way for to make sure we get paid, to make sure our bills get paid. We go out of the way. We go to places we don't like. We go at times we don't want to go. We do a whole lot of things. So consider that when it comes to your salvation and what is it that is too much for you for your salvation. Consider those things. But brother, before we get started, would you read the oracles and entreat the angel that stands at the door, that he may come in and sup with us and us with him, that we may make this a holy convocation by the angel's presence.
1 Peter chapter 4, verses 7 through 11. But the end of all things is at hand. Be you therefore sober, and watch unto prayer. And above all things have fervent love among yourselves, for love shall cover the multitude of sins. Use hospitality one to another without grudging. As every man has received the gift, even so minister the same one to another, as good stewards of the manifold grace of Elohim. If any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of Elohim. If any man minister, let him do it as of the ability which Elohim gives, that Elohim in all things may be glorified through Yahshua the Mashiach, to whom be praise and dominion forever and ever. Amen. Ephesians chapter 4, verses 29 through chapter 5 and verse 4. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers. And grieve not the Holy Spirit of Elohim, whereby you are sealed until the day of redemption. Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice. And be you kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as Elohim for Yahshua's sake has forgiven you. Be you therefore followers of Elohim as their children, and walk in love, as the Mashiach also have loved us, and has given himself for us an offering and sacrifice to Elohim for a sweet-smelling savor. But fornication and all uncleanness or covetousness, let it not be once named among you as becomes saints. Neither filthiness, nor foolish talking, nor jesting, which are not convenient, but rather giving of thanks. Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verses 1 and 2. Keep your foot when you go to the house of Elohim, and be more ready to hear than to give the sacrifice of fools, for they consider not that they do evil. Be not rash with your mouth, and let not your heart be hasty to utter anything before Elohim, for Elohim is in heaven, and you upon earth. Therefore let your words be few. Exodus chapter 23, verses 20 and 21. Behold, I send an angel before you, to keep you in the way, and to bring you into the place which I have prepared. Beware of him, and obey his voice. Provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgressions, for my name is in him. Revelations chapter 3, verses 20 through 22. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come into him and will sup with him, and he with me. To him that overcomes will I grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I have also overcame and am sat down with my Father in his throne. He that has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says unto the churches.
All right. Now, as we know, we are getting close to our final set of holy days. We are getting ready to move into trumpets, the Day of Atonement, and tabernacles. So as we get closer and closer to these things, we must consider that Yahweh has given us an order as to how things are supposed to be done. But what you find amongst Israel is there is a serious problem with dealing with authority, dealing with things in the way that they're supposed to be dealt with. So we have the during the time of Yahshua, you had, of course, the thing that he set up, the priesthood that was set up. Those disciples were priests. As it is written, Yahshua became a high priest among us. So these brothers then stood in the place of the priests. Yahshua basically understand what was happening. You had still a temple full of this was the way everything was set up before, but then you had this new thing that Yahshua set up. Then you have the priests that he set up, and they would go even into the temple and teach people. But there was a big problem there because he had already said that that temple was going to be knocked down. But the entire time that temple was standing, there are people that don't know who has the authority to do what, because they're questioning. These guys are coming into the temple and they have more understanding than the people that's there. They have pomp and circumstance, everything behind them, because they're backed by the Euro Gentiles. Understand, the system was being occupied. The land was being occupied. There were rulers of the temple, but understand, they were put in place by the very people who were ruling over them. So it was a real false way of life that existed at that time. It was enough to keep our people from revolting, but not the way things were supposed to be done. So we're going to begin today's sermon in Acts chapter 19, and we're going to read verses 1 through 16. Now, as we get ready to keep these holy days, you'll find that there are a lot of people saying that, you don't have to keep the holy days because we're not in our land. There's a whole lot of different doctrines. Then, of course, you have those that have no setup whatsoever. They just kind of want to, wonder about. So we're going to get into some things so that we have a little bit of understanding on this issue. And the title of today's sermon is The Vagabond Jews.
Acts chapter 19 and verse 1. And it came to pass that, while Apollos was at Corinth, Saul, having passed through the upper coast, came to Ephesus, and finding certain disciples, he said unto them, Have you received the Holy Ghost since you believed? And they said unto him, We have not so much as heard whether there be any Holy Ghost. And he said unto them, Unto what then were you baptized? And they said, Unto Johannan's baptism. Then said Saul, Johanan verily baptized with the baptism of repentance, saying unto the people that they should believe on him which should come after him, that is, on the Mashiach Yahshua.
Right. Now, Johanan the Baptist was the best born among women, but there was a level. He was the introduction. Then he dealt and baptized the Mashiach. The Mashiach then took the helm, and then the Mashiach then had his disciples go after him. There's order in how things are set up. Even though Johanan was the best among born of women, his baptism still did not contain the ability to have the Spirit. But he was the best born among women. But there are levels, there's order to how things are supposed to be done. Go ahead.
When they heard this, they were baptized in the name of the Adonai Yahshua. And when Saul had laid his hands upon them, the Holy Ghost came on them, and they spake with tongues and prophesied.
Okay, after they had a proper baptism, after there was hands laid upon them, then the Holy Ghost came upon them, and now they have a different ability. See, a lot of times we have allowed this thing to become trivialized because we've seen people on television, and we've gone to Sunday churches where people say they caught the Spirit as if it was some kind of disease. They caught the Spirit, but yet nothing changed in their life. These people, it says they spake with tongues, not goo gobbledygoo. They spoke different languages. They were able now, what would be the purpose for that? To be able to communicate the word to different nationalities. Remember, the word is now, the word was only for Israel to start with. So they don't need to speak in no tongues. They don't need to speak no different language. For what? They can't deal with this anyway. They can't even come in the temple. We don't need to speak no other languages. But now Israel is going to be dispersed throughout the countries, and the word is now opened up to the Euro-Gentiles. Well, lo and behold, now the gift of speaking different languages has a purpose. See, what we're taught in Sunday churches is they just what is that? Don't nobody understand what you said? But when you go to understand these different places that they're going, these places speak different languages. Corinth is in Greece. Galatia is France. Understand, they're going to different countries. Being able to speak different languages helps promote the word. Don't let these people fool you. I don't care how big their sanctuary is. Don't let these people fool you on Sunday morning with their shenanigans. It does not fit what is in this book. Go ahead.
You know, brother, even with this situation after Saul spoke with them and they decided to get rebaptized, to get a new baptism, you could see how with lack of understanding, they could have looked at both men and say, well, Yohanan is more righteous than him. He don't drink wine or strong drinks.
Matter of fact, Yohanan actually knew Christ. You didn't even know Christ. Saul. Matter of fact, when you persecuting the Yehudis, get out of here. Right. Go ahead.
Acts chapter 19 and verse 7. And all the men were about 12. And he went into the synagogue and spake boldly for the space of 3 months, disputing and persuading the things concerning the kingdom of Elohim. But when divers were hardened and believed not, but speak evil of that way before the multitude, he departed from them and separated the disciples, disputing daily in the school of one Tyrannus. And this continued by the space of 2 years, so that all they which dwelt in Asia heard the word of the Adonai Yahshua, both Yehudis and Greeks.
Right. So you see where this gift of speaking in tongues was profitable. Being able to speak these different languages, then they're able to expound this word to these different people. Go ahead.
And Elohim wrought special miracles by the hands of Saul, so that from his body were brought onto the sick handkerchiefs or aprons, and the diseases departed from them, and the evil spirits went out of them.
Right. Now, this lets you know that what happens on Sunday morning is a theatrical play. Understand, we already got to this thing of speaking in tongues with them not considering that all of these people, because people have the tendency to say, okay, well, they're just in, Europe or Asia Minor, so, they all speak the same language. No, they don't. So you understand what speaking in tongues was about when you understand that. Then you get to hear, this is the other part of the theatrical thing that happens on Sunday morning. Because he was able to do these miracles, now you see people, I'm going to touch you and I'm going to make you pass out. I'm going to heal you. Now they have made a theatrical event out of this. And who was that? One of them big televangelists. He made $1 kajillion off selling these prayer cloths, selling these handkerchiefs. See, it was parts. I think that was him. Either him or the one his son is there now in his place. Is it Graham something? But anyway, one of them, he made $1 kajillion off selling these prayer cloths. See, these little bits of clothing that he might have worn, boom, people were able to be healed. Now that has been turned into a theatrical event. Now people buy the little prayer cloths, and I mean, they got mega rich off of it. Go ahead.
Verse 13. Then certain of the vagabond Jews, exorcists, took upon them to call over them which had evil spirits the name of the Adonai Yahshua, saying, we adjure you by Yahshua whom Saul preacheth.
Right. Now, understand now that there's authority given to the Yehudis, but here's the thing. Everything is done decently and in order. It says, we adjure you by Yahshua whom Saul preached. So they don't even preach Yahshua, yet they believe that they have authority. It's no different. Why do you think you got so many prayer groups? See, they don't want to deal with an organized setting because there's authority. See, so we've had people leave out of here, and they said, well, we gonna have a gathering. So you call it a gathering because they know they don't have any qualification to be a priest. So then they gonna slide in through the back door. I'm not a priest per se, but what I can do is I can, wherever two or more gathered, see? So then I have a gathering, see? And then I can lead the gathering, right? You can lead them people straight to the lake of fire. If the blind lead the blind, they both gonna fall into a ditch. Does not have any authority, vagabond Jews. They don't have any authority. When you look up this word, vagabond, it is a Greek word, and it is pierkomai, which means to come all around, that is to stroll, vacillate, veer, wandering about. So they don't have any authority. They don't really have any direction. They just wander about. They wandering stars. Vagabond Jews. So when the time, as it presents itself, now they do, what they want to do as they please. But when you deal with these things, Saul realized that, once he received this word, that there was order as to how things needed to be done. He already had a zeal for Elohim. He was already following the order that he grew up learning, but Yahweh had to give him a different order. Go ahead.
Verse 14. And there were 7 sons of one Sceva, a Jew, and chief of the priests, which did so. And the evil spirit answered and said,
chief of the priests. Yahweh don't care what authority you teaching that other stuff. Who called you to do this? Go ahead.
And the evil spirit answered and said, Yahshua I know, and Saul I know, but who are you?
Now, not only does Yahweh do not care, the demons don't care either. The demon, wait. You casting out spirits. Hold on, bruh. Hold on. Yahshua I know, Saul I know. Who you, buddy? Sleep under. Who you? Now, if you have authority, I would know you. I don't know you. Go ahead.
And the man in whom the evil spirit was leapt on them, and overcame them, and prevailed against them, so that they fled out of that house naked and wounded.
Right. That's how you make sure people understand they don't have no authority. When a dude fly out of the door butt naked, you pretty much know, I don't think he had authority to do that right there. Right. They don't need to question it no more. That is solidified. They didn't have any authority. Right. That's where you have all these gatherings. See, they don't have any, you have whole churches set up that have been, some of them have been set up for 5 or more years. They still don't have a priest. Been a gathering for 5 years, still trying to figure out who the priest is. Right. Wandering about. Vagabond. That's what they do. They just wander about this word, just looking for something that sounds interesting at that particular time. Right. There's no order. Let's go to Acts chapter 9. And we're going to read verses 1 through 18. So you have some that believe that they have acquired some authority by the absence. This is how the Euro-Gentiles took the kingdom. By killing off the apostles, they then assumed authority in their absence after, of course, they killed them. Then they set up churches on top of their dead bodies. What do you think the Vatican is? Do you not understand that this, their whole thing is, it is built on the bones of Peter? It's built on top of a graveyard. Ain't nothing but dead people under that Vatican. Dead people and treasures that they robbed from other people. So this is how some people assume authority. By some way trying to push aside the people who have the authority. Whether that be by death or trickery, or some just make an argument so they can leave, so they can now claim that they have authority. Acts chapter 9, and let's read verses 1 through 18.
And Saul, yet breathing out threatenings and slaughter against the disciples of the Adonai, went on to the high priest, and desired of him letters to Damascus to the synagogues, that if he found any of this way, whether they were men or women, he might bring them bound on to Jerusalem.
All right, so this is Saul beforehand, before doing all of these other things. This is him, even in his own life, he then did what? Desired of him letters. Letters is authority, okay? When people get a certificate, you went to school for 4 years so you can get a degree. You know what you got? A letter. That's what that is. That is your letter of authority. This is what you've done. I have completed this. This is my letter of completion. He desired letters. This was his authority to do those things. So even being out of the order of Yahshua, he still dealt in order within the church. He didn't do that on his own will. He had letters, so he had authority to do that. Go ahead.
And he went straight to the man at the top.
Exactly. So this lets you know that he went to the high priest. Everybody don't even know the high priest. You can't get that close to the high priest. If you don't know, for you to just go and ask these things, right? So he had some clout there. Go ahead.
Verse 3. And as he journeyed, he came near Damascus, and suddenly there shined round about him a light from heaven. And he fell to the earth, and heard a voice saying unto him, Saul, Saul, why persecuteth you me? And he said, Who are you, Adonai? And the Adonai said, I am Yahshua, whom you persecuted. It is hard for you to kick against the pricks.
So understand, when you deal with this, this is Yahshua coming to him, but he did not know Yahshua in his lifetime. Understand, this is happening to him afterward. Yahshua has already dealt with disciples and sent them on their way. He has already set up Cephas as the rock on which the church was to be built. He wasn't with none of them. Go ahead.
And he, trembling and astonished, said, Adonai, what will you have me to do? And the Adonai said unto him, Arise, and go into the city, and it shall be told you what you must do.
Now you understand. Now you have to see how Yahweh works. Now, Yahweh didn't just tell him, all right, you have authority, go. All right, well, who's going to verify your authority? So you understand how Yahweh works. Yahweh got his attention. Now he said, go somewhere, and then it shall be told you. So when somebody claims that they have authority, what validates your authority? Watch how Yahweh validate the authority. Go ahead.
Acts chapter 9 and verse 7. And the man which journeyed with him stood speechless, hearing a voice, but seeing no man.
Right. That part happened for a reason too. So there's some confused people. They said, man, I know something happened. I don't know what it was. Go ahead.
And Saul arose from the earth, and when his eyes were opened, he saw no man. But they led him by the hand and brought him into Damascus.
Now, this is the same man who was able to bring people bound persecute these people. Now all of a sudden, as he has letters to do this to people, now he can't see. This is a vulnerable state. Go ahead.
And he was 3 days without sight, and neither did eat nor drink. And there was a certain disciple at Damascus named Ananias, and to him said the Adonai in a vision, Ananias. And he said, Behold, I am here, Adonai. And the Adonai said unto him, Arise, and go into the street which is called Straight, and inquire in the house of Yehudim for one called Saul of Tarsus. For behold, he prayeth, and hath seen in a vision a man named Ananias coming in, and putting his hand on him, that he might receive his sight.
Okay, so now, even though you have Yahshua coming to this man, Yahshua didn't give him his authority right off. Yahshua sent him to somebody else, a man already established in the word. Go ahead.
Then Ananias answered, Adonai, I have heard by many of this man.
Right. See, this is an established man who knows the happenings. Wait a minute, I heard about this guy here. Go ahead.
How much evil he has done to your saints at Jerusalem. And here he hath authority from the chief priest to bind all that call on your name. But the Adonai said unto him, Go your way, for he's a chosen vessel unto me, to bear my name before the Gentiles, and kings, and the children of Israel.
Now, listen to the order. Go your way, for he is a chosen vessel unto me, to bear my name before the Gentiles, first, and kings, second, and the children of Israel, third. He has already called 12 people to represent the 12 tribes of Israel. He does not deal with Israel first. He deals with the Euro Gentiles, then he deals with the children of Israel who are scattered about. Why is that important? Most people have based their entire worship practices on epistles. Epistles are letters. These letters were written to the Euro Gentiles by Saul. His first authority is to the Gentiles, not the children of Yehuda, not Israel. He deals with Israel thirdly. Understand the order. You understand what a supervisor, a manager, and a district manager, right? You understand that, right? Because you understand your check. Right. So you understand here. Go ahead.
Verse 16. For I will show him how great things he must suffer for my name's sake.
Okay, so this Ananias then was an established brother. So he sent him to an established brother who will then, when he says it, the rest of the people will believe. Knowing, and Yahweh knows what he's doing. He even sent him to somebody who didn't like him. What do you think? That's even further justification. See, anybody can say, well, you know, Yahweh called me. You don't believe me? Ask Kish. But ain't that your partner? So Yahweh told you, he didn't tell you in front of nobody. You see how all these other men saw what happened? Then he sent them to somebody who didn't like him, and they vouched for him. See, he says, let him alone. He is a chosen vessel unto me. You see, his authority then cannot be questioned. This brother's going to tell all the rest of the church, hey man, it's a real deal. The brother was blind when he came. I prayed for him. I laid hands. Brother got his sight back, and he started on this journey. So now this is a testimony to his authority and his job. So you find all of these. See, this is what the Vagabond Jews do. They don't have any way that they can say they have any authority. See? They're not going to do anything. They just want to jump in. See, it seems like a good thing to do let's go cast out some evil spirits. Let's go do such and such. Yeah, but do you do anything? Where does your authority come from to do those things? See? Let's go to Romans chapter 11. Romans chapter 11, and we're going to read verses 1 through 13.
Romans chapter 11 and verse 1. I say then, has Elohim cast away his people? Elohim forbid. For I also am an Israelite, of the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin. Elohim have not cast away his people which he foreknew. Know you not what the scripture saith of Elias, how he maketh intercession to Elohim against Israel, saying, Adonai, they have killed your prophets, and dig down your altars, and I am left alone, and they seek my life. But what saith the answer of Elohim unto him? I have reserved to myself 7,000 men, who have not bowed the knee to the image of Baal. Even so then, at this present time also there is a remnant according to the election of grace. And if by grace, then is it no more of works. Otherwise grace is no more grace. But if it be of works, then is it no more grace. Otherwise work is no more work. What then? Israel hath not obtained that which he seeketh for, but the election hath obtained it, and the rest were blinded. According as it is written, Elohim hath given them the spirit of slumber, eyes that they should not see, and ears that they should not hear, unto this day.
Right, so there is a remnant of Israel who will be able to hear. So the rest were blinded. See, the first thing we want to do, we get this word, we want to go take it home to all our family and friends, and we just say, oh my goodness, they're going to be so excited. Oh my goodness. And you get home and they don't know what you're talking about. Right. The rest were blinded. The election. And then that throws us off. Because then we have to ask ourselves, I mean, I ain't that smart. I can't be special. No, surely, some other people in my family can understand this. Right. Go ahead.
Verse 9. And Dawid saith, let their table be made a snare, and a trap, and a stumbling block, and a recompense unto them. Let their eyes be darkened, that they may not see, and bow down their back always. I say then, have they stumbled that they should fall? Elohim forbid. But rather through their fall salvation is come unto the Gentiles, for to provoke them to jealousy. Now if the fall of them be the riches of the world, and the diminishing of them the riches of the Gentiles, how much more their fullness? For I speak to you Gentiles, inasmuch as I am the apostle of the Gentiles, I magnify mine office.
For I speak to you Gentiles, inasmuch as I am the apostle of the Gentiles. Now, this is where you're going to have problems with the vagabond Jews. Having this brother being the apostle to the Euro-Gentiles, they will then take these things out of the letters and deal with them out of context. He is sent to the Gentiles. He deals with Gentiles first, kings secondly, which would also be the Gentiles. Thirdly, Israel. Okay? They're the last ones on the list that he is to deal with. Yahweh has already set up a foundation for the children of Israel. So when you find these vagabond Jews, they're going to take these things that's in the letters, but not differentiate from who he's talking to in the letter. So they will take these things, take them wrong, and then throw those things at you. Hold on, man. That's an epistle. That's a letter. They then try to convince you of sin. The definition of sin is transgression of the law. They don't understand, okay, go back in the Old Testament and let me find that concept and let's see how that applies to Israel. See, they don't get that. It's a different setup from what the Yehudis have to deal with and what the Euro-Gentiles have to deal with. But we're going to get to that. Go ahead, brother.
This is one of the main chapters that the Messianics use, but they're using it saying, turning it around. We're the Gentiles, and they're Yehuda.
Of course. Man, I seen this little kiddie movie. I think it was The Ants. And it was the kiddie movie, the little, you seen it, man. The little crickets was just tearing them up. You know, they let them stack up their little food or whatever, and they just come in there and they just take it. They just take it, and it wasn't that many of the little crickets. But one of the little ants decided to stand up. They said, man, we got to crush him. Because if they actually realize how strong they are, we done. It's like, what do you mean, man? We much stronger than them. No, we not. They have numbers. And if they ever gather together, we dead. You ain't never seen a bunch of ants just take over a huge bug and just be carrying them off. They finna have a feast on him. Right. When they get together, they are unstoppable. So part of the thing is to convince you of your inability. If you can convince somebody of their inability, you have won the fight without throwing one punch. Convince them that they've already lost before they start. Ain't no need me punching. I'm gonna lose anyway. Fight over it. They already lost up here. If you lost up here, it don't matter what happened after that. You've already conceded to defeat. That's the game they play. Let's go to Romans chapter 2. Romans chapter 2, and we're going to start that at verse 8. Now see, these vagabond Yehudis, they like to take things written out of these epistles, and they are really one of those strange creatures of what you call Hebrew Christians, because they want to deal with Yahweh and Yahshua in some form or fashion, but most of them still call Christ Jesus. Now, what kind of sick, twisted, you got this much understanding, but you gonna sit there and call the Messiah Jesus? Well, you know, people know the name. Hold on. There's none other name under heaven by which men shall be saved, and that name ain't Jesus, and you know that. So why would you deal with that? Furthermore, why would you give yourself a Hebrew name and then call him by this Latin Greek hybrid of a name? Don't be respectful persons toward yourself. If you're going to call him Jesus, call yourself Apollos. Call yourself Mercurius. Call yourself Jupiter. Don't give yourself no Hebrew name and still call my God, King, High Priest by this little Greek Latin hybrid of a name. That's disrespectful. Go ahead.
Romans chapter 2 and verse 8. But unto them that are contentious and do not obey the truth, but obey unrighteousness, indignation and wrath, tribulation and anguish upon every soul of man that does evil, of the Jew first, and also of the Gentile.
Order. This is order. Punishment is going to come to the children of Yehuda first, then to the Euro Gentiles. Go ahead.
But glory, honor, and peace to every man that worketh good, to the Jew first, and also to the Gentile. For there is no respect of persons with Elohim.
And this is not respect of persons. This is just the order in which things are set up. Go ahead.
For as many as have sinned without law shall also perish without law, and as many as have sinned in the law shall be judged by the law.
Right. I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6. It's the difference between being judged by the law and dying without law. Go ahead.
For not the hearers of the law are just before Elohim, but the doers of the law shall be justified. For when the Gentiles, which have not the law...
Okay, separation. For when the Gentiles, which have not the law, go ahead,
do by nature the things contained in the law, these, having not the law, are a law unto themselves, which show the work of the law written in their hearts, their conscience also bearing witness, and their thoughts the meanwhile accusing or else excusing one another. In the day when Elohim shall judge the secrets of men by Yahshua the Mashiach according to my gospel, behold, you are called a Yehudi, and resteth in the law, and maketh your boast of Elohim.
All right, you see the difference? The Euro Gentiles, it says, verse 13, verse 14, for when the Gentiles which have not the law. Verse 17 says, behold, you are called a Yehudi and rest in the law. See the difference? But them vagabond Jews gonna take some stuff that's written to the Gentiles and try to stick it to you, not understanding what's going on. So you have to know when you come in the presence of one of them vagabond Yehudis. They look like you, but they ain't you. Go ahead.
Verse 18. And knoweth his will, and approveth the things that are more excellent, being instructed out of the law, and are confident that you yourself are a guide of the blind, a light of them which are in darkness.
And knoweth his will, and approve the things that are more excellent, being instructed out of the law. Your Gentiles are not instructed out of the law. So when you read any of these things in these epistles that are letters that people keep trying to call scripture, you have to always ask yourself a question. Who is talking and who are they talking to? Don't just keep reading. Who's talking? Who are they talking to? Go ahead.
Verse 20. An instructor of the foolish and teacher of babes, which has the form of knowledge and of the truth in the law. You therefore which teacheth another, teacheth you not yourself? You that preacheth a man should not steal, does you steal?
Mm-hmm.
You that saith a man should not commit adultery, does you commit adultery? You that abhorreth idols, does you commit sacrilege? You that maketh your boast of the law, through breaking the law dishonoreth you Elohim. For the name of Elohim is blasphemed among the Gentiles through you, as it is written.
Uh-huh.
For circumcision verily profiteth, if you keep the law.
The circumcision is the children of Yehuda. So Israel is the circumcision. For circumcision verily profiteth, if you keep the law. Go ahead.
But if you be a breaker of the law, your circumcision is made uncircumcision. Therefore, if the uncircumcision keep the righteousness of the law.
Now, if the uncircumcision, those are the Euro-Gentiles, keep the righteousness of the law, not the letter of the law. So even the law, if they deal with it, they deal with the righteousness of the law. It still wasn't talking about dealing with the letter of the law. The letter of the law kills. You're still not dealing with animal sacrifice and all of those things. It is the righteousness of the law. Go ahead.
Shall not his uncircumcision be counted for circumcision?
Uh-huh.
And shall not uncircumcision, which is by nature, if it fulfill the law, judge you, who by the letter and circumcision does transgress the law?
Uh-huh.
For he's not a Yehudi, which is one outwardly.
I told you they look like you, but they not you. Go ahead.
Neither is that circumcision, which is outward in the flesh.
Right.
But he is a Yehudi, which is one inwardly.
Uh-huh.
The circumcision is that of the heart.
Right. Circumcised heart. Go ahead.
In the spirit and not in the letter.
Not in the letter of the law, in the spirit of the law. Go ahead.
Whose praise is not of men, but of Elohim.
Keep going.
What advantage then has the Yehudi? Or what profit is there of circumcision? Much every way. Chiefly because that unto them were committed the oracles of Elohim.
Right. The Euro-Gentiles were validated by the presence of Saul. The children of Yehuda and Israel were the teachers of the Euro-Gentiles. But of course, what they did was then turn around and get rid of us and set up their own thing. And now our people go to their schools and learn the twisted doctrine. Jump to verse 28.
Therefore we conclude that a man is justified by faith without the deeds of the law.
The deeds of the law is animal sacrifice. Go ahead.
Is he the Elohim of the Yehudis only? Is he not also of the Gentiles? Yes, of the Gentiles also. Seeing it is one Elohim, which shall justify the circumcision by faith and uncircumcision through faith.
You see the different paths? Seeing it is one Elohim, which shall justify the circumcision, the children of Israel, by faith, and the uncircumcision, the Euro-Gentiles, through faith. So, if there is a mixed congregation, that teacher or pastor has to be able to differentiate between what those people have to do for their salvation. But what you have is people have made this one-size-fits-all doctrine. So they teach everybody the same thing. That's a problem. And it's right here in the book that one size does not fit all. Go ahead.
Do we then make void the law through faith? Elohim forbid. Yea, we establish the law.
All right, let's go to Galatians chapter 2. Well, Galatians.
Right after 2nd Chronicles.
It's hiding from me. 2 Corinthians. You mean.
I mean 2 Corinthians, sorry.
Went right past it. All right, Galatians chapter 2, and let's start that at verse 1.
Then 14 years after I went up again to Jerusalem with Barnabas, and took Titus with me also. And I went up by revelation, and communicated unto them that gospel which I preach among the Gentiles, but privately to them which were of reputation, lest by any means I should run, or had run, in vain. But neither Titus, who was with me, being a Greek, was compelled to be circumcised.
Right. He didn't have to be circumcised. He was a Greek. The circumcision was not given to the Euro-Gentiles. But then you're going to have a problem with them vagabond Jews, though. Because, see, then they're going to try to see if they can put you in bondage under their level of understanding. Go ahead.
And that because of false brethren unawares brought in, who came in privily to spy out our liberty which we have in the Mashiach Yahshua.
What you think people show up here for? So they can come spy out your liberty? What y'all doing? What kind of camera that is? What kind of camera that is? How y'all broadcasting this? How y'all doing? Oh, okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Got that. Who that brother at? What school you went to, bro? Right. Right. They come in to spy out your liberty. They want to figure out how you do what you do. It ain't enough that we broadcast. That ain't good enough. Now I want to see what's on the other side of the camera. Why? Go ahead.
That they might bring us into bondage, to whom we have placed by subjection, no, not for an hour, that the truth of the gospel might continue with you. But of these who seem to be somewhat, whatsoever they were, it maketh no matter to me. Elohim accepteth no man's person. For they who seem to be somewhat in conference added nothing to me. But contrariwise, when they saw that the gospel of the uncircumcision was committed unto me, as the gospel of the circumcision was unto Cephas.
Okay, stop. How difficult is this to understand? The gospel of the circumcision, the children of Israel, was given to Cephas. The gospel of the uncircumcision was given to Saul. People have a hard time. See, people want to jump in and out, especially of this New Testament. They like to jump in and out. You got a lot of them vagabond Jews. Half of them walking around looking for the Sabbath. They can't find it. They're trying to find this Roman Sabbath. So they don't know which day to keep. One day, Wednesday, they Sabbath. The next week, Monday, they Sabbath. The next, you know what that's going to do? In 2 months, they ain't going to keep no Sabbath. You can't keep going to work telling these people, so you know they ain't keeping it right. How you going to keep telling people that you going to get off on all these different days? That ain't going to work. That's a mess. That's a work of the adversary, the devil. Go ahead.
Galatians chapter 2 and verse 8. For he that wrought effectually in Cephas to the apostleship of the circumcision, the same was mighty in me toward the Gentiles. And when Jacob, Cephas, and Johanan, who seemed to be pillars, perceived the grace that was given unto me, they gave to me and Barnabas the right hands of fellowship, that we should go on to the heathen, and they on to the circumcision.
Right. This is verified. See, you have to read this back to back so that you understand what Saul's job was. Most of the people you hear quoting all of the things of Saul, they are Israel, but think that they're Gentiles. Now that is confusion. Go ahead.
Only they would that we should remember the poor, the same which I also was forward to do. But when Cephas was come to Antioch, I withstood him to the face, because he was to be blamed. For before that certain came from Jacob, he did eat with the Gentiles. But when they were come, he withdrew and separated himself, fearing them which were of the circumcision.
You see how folks can get you in trouble? Now, he know what the deal was. It was told to him. When Brother Kish read in New Moon about the all manner of beasts, it says rise, slay and eat. This was Yahweh showing that he was going to open the door unto the Euro Gentiles to be able to deal with this word. He knew this. But being among them other Yehudis, now he let the pressure. Y'all don't understand why I teach so rigorously. I've been there where other people try to influence you to go against what you know, and you think just because they got a kufi on that they dealing with the same thing that you dealing with. You think just because they call themselves Hebrew Israelites that they dealing with the same thing that you're dealing with. Half the problems these brothers having here, they having with other children of Israel. Go ahead.
Verse 13. And the other Yehudis disassembled likewise with him, insomuch that Barnabas also was carried away with their dissimulation.
Now he's supposed to be teaching. Now Barnabas done got messed up. Well, you don't want to sit with the Gentiles? You know what, me either. Wait a minute, man. You with me teaching the Gentiles. How all of a sudden you don't want to sit with them? Because, you know, Cephas and them. It's always them. Keith and them and them. Them cause the most crap. Them. Now, just that. This man has authority to do the stuff that he's doing. Now, their dissimulation is causing his job a problem. Go ahead.
But when I saw that they walked not uprightly according to the truth of the gospel, I said unto Cephas before them all, if you, being a Jew, liveth after the manner of Gentiles, and not as do the Yehudis, why compelleth you the Gentiles to live as do the Yehudis?
Right. And what he means by that is now you are not doing animal sacrifice. See, these are the new people that was called after Yahshua's way. You do know that at the temple they still doing sacrifices and everything, right? So that's why he's mentioning, we kind of get that out of our head. This group has stopped doing animal sacrifice. All the people at the temple still doing it. They don't understand. There are people that are still doing the same things today. They believe because the building is standing that the spirit is at the temple. See, they think as long as their building standing, the spirit's in the walls. Right. The spirit been left the place. There are people that think that same thing. This is where I first heard the word. So the spirit is here in the walls. The whole everything done changed. Ain't going again, nothing that's in this book. But they think the spirit in the walls. Right. So when he makes this statement, he's letting them know, wait a minute, you ain't keeping animal sacrifice, bro. So why you trying to push these people to do things? You don't even live like the rest of the Yehudis. So why you doing this to these people? Go ahead.
Galatians chapter 2 and verse 15. We who are Yehudis by nature, and not sinners of the Gentiles, knowing that a man is not justified by the works of the law, but by the faith of Yahshua the Mashiach, even we have believed in Yahshua the Mashiach, that we might be justified by the faith of the Mashiach.
Right.
And not,
believing in him, we don't have to do those things. Go ahead.
And not by the works of the law. For by the works of the law shall no flesh be justified.
You are not justified by animal sacrifice. That's the works of the law. That is not talking about the law. The commandments. Works of the law. Go ahead.
But if, while we seek to be justified by the Mashiach, we ourselves also are found sinners, is therefore the Mashiach the minister of sin? Elohim forbid. For if I build again the things which I destroyed, I make myself a transgressor. For I through the law am dead to the law, that I might live unto Elohim. I am crucified with the Mashiach, nevertheless I live. Yet not I, but the Mashiach liveth in me. And the life which I now live in the flesh, I live by faith of the Son of Elohim, who loved me and gave himself for me.
All right, let's go to Ephesians chapter 3. Ephesians chapter 3, and let's read verses 1 through 8.
Ephesians chapter 3 and verse 1. For this cause I, Saul, the prisoner of Yahshua the Mashiach, for you Gentiles, if you have heard of the dispensation of the grace of Elohim which is given me to you word, how that by revelation he made known unto me the mystery, as I wrote afore in few words, whereby, when you read, you may understand my knowledge in the mystery of the Mashiach.
Right. What he's doing is writing unto them so they understand his authority that was given unto him to do this job. And it lets you know that this is to the Euro Gentiles. If there be any of the children of Israel amongst you, then he will deal with them as well, but understand his authority. Go ahead.
Which in other ages was not made known unto the sons of men, as it is now revealed unto his holy apostles and prophets by the Spirit, that the Gentiles should be fellow heirs and of the same body, and partakers of his promise in the Mashiach by the gospel, where I was made a minister, according to the gift of the grace of Elohim given unto me by the effectual working of his power. Unto me, whom am less than the least of all saints, is this grace given, that I should preach among the Gentiles the unsearchable riches of the Mashiach.
Right. I was made a minister that I may preach this among the Gentiles. See, this is constantly there. He is saying this amongst, understand, these are different groups of people. He's going to Corinth, he's going to Gaul, he's going to Ephesus, and he's giving them and showing them his authority. These are all Gentile lands. But see, those vagabonds are then going to take stuff out of here, not understanding what it is they're doing, and try to see if they can make you bound with it. Let's go to Acts chapter 15. And the sad part about it is, most of the times they don't know no different. They think they're doing right. Because a vagabond Jew was taught by another vagabond Jew. Like it says, if the blind lead the blind, they both gonna fall into a ditch. Acts chapter 15, and we're going to read verses 1 through 20.
And certain men which came down from Yehuda taught the brethren, and said, except you be circumcised after the manner of Moshe, you cannot be saved.
And certain men which came down from Judea taught the brethren, and said, except you be circumcised after the manner of Moshe, you cannot be saved. So now they have circumcision as the way of being saved. Yet Yahshua had baptism. Go ahead.
When therefore Saul and Barnabas had no small dissension and disputation with them, they determined that Saul and Barnabas and certain other of them should go up to Jerusalem unto the apostles and elders about this question.
Right. They said, now we need to go to the authority, and we need to go and ask some questions about this. So they arguing back and forth about this. Go ahead.
And being brought on their way by the church, they passed through Phoenicia and Samaria, declaring the conversation of the Gentiles.
Conversion of the Gentiles.
Declaring the conversion of the Gentiles, and they caused great joy unto all the brethren. And when they were come to Jerusalem, they were received of the church, and of the apostles and elders, and they declared all things that Elohim had done with them. But there rose up certain of the sect of the Pharisees which believed, saying that it was needful to circumcise them, and to command them to keep the law of Moshe.
Okay, but there rose up certain of the sect of the Pharisees which believed. So now you have a sect of the Pharisees who believe in Yahshua, but they bring in their old way with them. See, that's what people do. They want to come into this word, but they want to bring the Christian mindset with them. Check your demon at the door. See, right there where we got the shoes and they got coat check, tie your demon up right there. Don't bring him in here. All right? Put your shoes and your coat and your demon, tie him at the door, tell Brother Ephraim, he sit at the door, what? I'm leaving my fun in here. This is my little demon. I'm going to leave him in here. Now Ephraim, this is my demon. Don't let nobody take my demon with them. So I'm going to tie him right here. If he leave out this spot, Ephraim come get me. All right? Check your demon at the door. Don't bring him in here. Go ahead.
Verse 6. And the apostles and elders came together for to consider of this matter. And when there had been much disputing, Cephas rose up and said unto them, Men and brethren, you know how that a good while ago Elohim made choice among us, that the Gentiles by my mouth should hear the word of the gospel and believe. And Elohim, which knoweth the hearts, bear them witness, giving them the Holy Ghost, even as he did unto us. And put no difference between us and them, purifying their hearts by faith. Now therefore, why tempt you Elohim, to put a yoke upon the neck of the disciples, which neither our fathers nor we were able to bear? But we believe that through the grace of the Adonai Yahshua the Mashiach, we shall be saved, even as they.
Right.
Then all the multitude kept silence, and gave audience to Barnabas and Saul, declaring what miracles and wonders Elohim have wrought among the Gentiles by them. And after that they had held their peace. Jacob answered, saying, Men and brethren, hearken unto me. Simeon hath declared how Elohim at the first did visit the Gentiles, to take out of them a people for his name. And to this agree the words of the prophets, as it is written. After this I will return, and will build again the tabernacle of David, which is fallen down, and I will build again the ruins thereof, and I will set it up, that the residue of men might seek after the Adonai and all the Gentiles, upon whom my name is called, saith the Adonai, who does all these things. Known unto Elohim are all his works from the beginning of the world. Wherefore my sentence is, that we trouble not them, which from among the Gentiles are turned unto Elohim.
We trouble not them which from among the Gentiles are turned to Elohim. Go ahead.
But that we write unto them, that they abstain from pollutions of idols, and from fornication, and from things strangled, and from blood.
Right. So, stop dealing with the circumcision with them. Stop trying to put that yoke, once again, totally different than what the children of Israel have to do. See? But if you go into one of these one-size-fits-all congregation, because, we want to be politically correct. So we're not going to say anything different for these people and these people. We're all one. You believe that if you want to. Let's go to chapter 21. See, people want to give this fake peace and this fake thing. Go into your office, the way you work, and go and sit in the manager's office. And when he come in there, say, what you doing in here? We're all one. See how that work out for you? Right. You gonna find out his levels in this thing. Right. Go play that game there and see what happened to you. Go on. Sit in his chair. Put your foot up on his desk. Tell him, we're all one.
Fire you one by one.
Right. You're going to be one out that door. Right. Acts chapter 21, and let's read verses 15 through 30.
And after those days we took up our carriages and went up to Jerusalem. There went with us also certain of the disciples of Caesarea, and brought with them one Manason of Cyprus, an old disciple, with whom we should lodge. And when we were come to Jerusalem, the brethren received us gladly. And the day following, Saul went in with us unto Jacob, and all the elders were present. And when he had saluted them, he declared particularly what things Elohim had wrought among the Gentiles by his ministry. And when they heard it, they glorified the Adonai, and said unto him, You seest, brother, how many thousands of Yehudis there are which believe, and they are all zealous of the law. And they are informed of you, that you teachest all the Yehudis which are among the Gentiles to forsake Moshe.
You see that? You see that? And they are informed of you that you teach all the Yehudis, which are among the Gentiles. Remember his order. Saul's order was first to teach the Gentiles, then kings, then the children of Israel. So as he's teaching the Gentiles, there are children of Israel that are mixed in. So now they are claiming you're not separating the teaching when you go amongst those Gentiles. So now there's a problem. But you see how there's a difference? You see how they separate it? Them vagabond Jews not going to do that when they come to you. They're going to come to you with something written in this New Testament, one of these letters, and say, yeah, brother, how you going to deal with that? Yeah. Read.
Saying that they ought not to circumcise their children, neither to walk after the customs. What is it therefore? The multitude must needs come together, for they will hear that you are come. Do therefore this that we say to you. We have 4 men which have a vow on them. Them take, and purify yourself with them, and be at charges with them, that they may shave their heads, and all may know that those things, whereof they were informed concerning you, are nothing. But you yourself also walketh orderly, and keepeth the law.
Right. Go ahead and do this. Shave your head as if you know, for the end of a vow and doing those things concerning the law, so that these people understand that you do keep the law, that you are not teaching the children of Israel against the law. You are teaching that the Euro Gentiles don't have to do all of the things contained in the law, but then still teaching that the children of Israel have to do the customs. This is right here in the New Testament. See, you can bust up what goes on Sunday morning with this New Testament, and you can bust up what happened with them vagabond Jews. You can bust up their doctrine right here in this New Testament too, if you know how to read it. Go ahead.
Acts chapter 21 and verse 25. As touching the Gentiles which believe, we have written and concluded that they observe no such thing, save only that they keep themselves from things offered to idols, and from blood, and from strangled, and from fornication. Then Saul took the men, and the next day purifying himself with them entered into the temple, to signify the accomplishment of the days of purification, until that an offering should be offered for every one of them. And when the 7 days were almost ended, the Yehudis which were of Asia, when they saw him in the temple, stirred up all the people, and laid hands on him, crying out, Men of Israel, help! This is the man that teacheth all men everywhere against the people, and the law, and this place, and further brought Greeks also into the temple, and have polluted this holy place.
He done brought Greeks in the temple. Now, you didn't have to ask yourself, did you see Greeks in the temple? Go ahead.
For they had seen before with him in the city.
Where they seen him at?
In the city.
They seen him where?
In the city.
They saw him in the city. So where they seen him at?
In the city.
Okay, they seen him in the city with who? Go ahead.
Trophimus, an Ephesian.
An Ephesian, a Gentile. Go ahead.
Whom they supposed that Saul had brought into the temple.
Now you see that right there? They suppose. Israel always suppose. You ain't seen Jack. I suppose, because you seen him in the city, you suppose that he took him to the temple. So in other words, you ain't seen him in the temple. But you suppose, well, he was with him down at the market. So he must have took him in the temple. That's your system of righteousness. What happened to, you see how the people who supposed to be brought up according to the law, they can just cast aside the law when they want to? What does the law say? Where are your 2 witnesses? Now, well, I suppose. So, you suppose. How you gonna witness something supposing? Right. They jump in and out of this word as it suits their particular interest at that time. Vagabond. Go ahead.
And all the city was moved, and the people ran together. And they took Saul and drew him out of the temple, and forthwith the doors were shut.
All right, let's go to 1 Corinthians 11. Now we're gonna get into what them vagabond Jews like to do to you right here. Oh yeah, they like this. Oh, they like this right here. Every time I teach something and they get mad at me, one of them vagabond Jews, come and say this, not understanding any of the things that we just read before. So they think they got something on me. Because, you know, you start teaching certain things that they don't want to do, and they upset with it, and they can't gainsay your teaching, so then they got to find some kind of problem. So then they're going to come at you, Israel, with one of the things that's written, an epistle, a letter that was sent to the Euro Gentiles, and try to deal with you with it. Now, this is 1 Corinthians. Corinth is where? Greece. Okay. Start that at verse 1, bro.
Be you followers of me, even as I also am of the Mashiach. Now I praise you, brethren, that you remember me in all things, and keep the ordinances as I delivered them to you. But I would have you know that the head of every man is the Mashiach, and the head of the woman is the man, and the head of the Mashiach is Elohim. Every man praying or prophesying having his head covered dishonoreth his head.
Oh, and boy, them vagabond Jews come at me. You teaching with your head covered. You need to stop it. You praying or prophesying with your head covered, brother. Okay. First of all, let's look up praying. Okay. Praying is G4336. It is prosokomai. It says to pray to Elohim, that is to supplicate, worship, pray, to make prayer. When we pray, all our men remove their head covering. But they don't see that on the videos. They always just see me with a head covering on. So I guess they suppose that I must still have my head covered when I pray. You see, that supposing got the first group in trouble, right? But we're supposed to, according to this word, make diligent inquiry. Did any of them ask that question? No, they didn't. They just jump in and out of this word as it suits them. So that's praying. The next thing is prophesying, which is propheteu, which means to foretell events. Divine, speak under inspiration, exercise the prophetic office, prophesy. The first thing is to foretell events. So, when the brother says you are praying or prophesying, praying to Elohim, prophesying to foretell the future. In doing any of this teaching, have I prayed or foretold any future event? I tell you, you got to watch them vagabond Jews. See? They want to tell you that now teaching is praying or prophesying. Now, we just read the definitions for both of those words. Neither one of them include teaching and praying or prophesying. Even if I go to Isaiah and I read what thus says the prophet, does that mean I prophesied it because I read what he said? So now I'm a prophet because I read what a prophet said. Okay, Ephraim got some tools. If I didn't have those tools, am I a mechanic? Brother Barak do electrical work. If I hold his tool bag, am I now an electrician? What? What's the problem?
You read out of his book, his electrical books.
I read out of his electrical book. I must be an electrician. I must be an electrician, brother, because I read out of his book. Now, what kind of sense does that make? Now, these are supposed to be educated people. And this is the conclusion that they come to with praying and prophesying, even though those things have absolutely nothing to do with teaching. You should not teach with your head covered. Where you see teach at in here? Every man praying or prophesying, having his head covered, dishonoreth his head. Now, the first question you have to ask, it says, every man praying or prophesying. Now, is there a difference between a man and a priest? Mm-hmm. This book says it is. See, I ain't no man. I'm a priest doing the job. And this head covering shows that I am under authority. And that's what people don't want to be under. Authority. They don't want to be under authority. Why you think the brothers walk around with their long clothing on? Because the word says how a man's supposed to be dressed. So you'll see those same brothers, they'll have on long clothing, but they won't have a head covering on. The same word that says you were supposed to wear the long clothing also said that your head was supposed to be covered as priests. But then they get to that, claiming that the priesthood was done away with. The word said that the priesthood was changed, not done away with. It was changed so that Yehudim, the other tribes, would be allowed to be priests. For Christ was out of the tribe of Yehudim, not out of the tribe of Levi. So run, go find your hole and stick that in, because that ain't going to work. Go ahead.
1 Corinthians chapter 11 and verse 5. But every woman that prayeth or prophesieth with her head uncovers dishonoreth her head. For that is even all one as if she were shaven.
Right. All our women have their head covered. Matter of fact, it's why we have problems with certain women. They don't want to cover their head because they don't want to be under authority. So they come in and they just drape something over their head. And then they just keep falling back. Oh my God, it fell. Oh my God, it keep falling back. Right, tie it up. Go ahead.
Verse 6. For if the woman be not covered, let her also be shorn.
All it's going to take is for one of us to do this right here in that land, we ain't going to have another uncovered sister. It said, for if the woman be not covered, let her also be shorn. Let her be shaven. Grab a sister and shave her head off. You won't see another uncovered sister. No, oh my, did it come off? Let me tie it up again. I ain't trying to be shaven. Right. Right. They're going to take care of that business right there. But people jump in and out of that. See? The same folks want to deal with one verse, but they don't want to deal with the part where you don't want to cover your head, shave it off. Now, these same New Testament folk. You don't see none of their wives with head coverings or being shaved. Right. They jump in and out of this book as it suits them. They found a detour in the word. Oh, my goodness, don't like that detour. Go ahead.
You know, brother, that concept is so serious to certain cultures as far as their women having head covering. I was reading about, I think it was a Somalian woman who was a runner. She ran in the Olympics and decided she was going to run with her head uncovered. When she went back home, they tried to stone her and kill her. She figured, I'm outside the country, I'm going to do what I want to do. She got back home and they said, we going to show you. She ended up having to leave that country.
Right, because what you did was you dishonored us while you were there. All of us were sitting there looking at the TV thinking we're going to be proud of you. And we turn on the TV only to look at this whore. You have just dishonored their whole culture. And then you think you can dishonor that culture, then come and walk back in like everything is fine and dandy? No, it don't work like that. Go ahead.
But if it be a shame for a woman to be shorn or shaven, let her be covered. For a man indeed ought not to cover his head, for as much as he is the image of the glory of Elohim.
A man indeed ought not to cover his head. So then I ask the question, is there a difference between a man and a priest? See, they want to tell you it's all the same. Why not? They think praying and prophesying and teaching is the same thing. Obviously, a man and a priest must be the same thing too. I guess a turtle and a dog is the same thing too. Bog, turtle, bog. Go ahead, bro.
But the woman is the glory of the man. For the man is not of the woman, but the woman of the man. Neither was the man created for the woman, but the woman for the man. For this cause ought the woman to have power on her head because of the angels. Nevertheless, neither is the man without the woman, neither the woman without the man in the Adonai. For as the woman is of the man, even so is the man also by the woman, but all things of Elohim.
All right, let's go to Numbers chapter 12. Now, some people don't like my definition, and it ain't my definition, it's Strong's definition or Zondervan, whichever book you like. It's their definition of praying and prophesying that does not match what people have put out. But they don't like my part of that. So let's go and read in the Torah what it says about prophets. Numbers chapter 12, and let's read verses 5 through 8.
Verse 5. And Yahweh came down in the pillar of the cloud, and stood in the door of the tabernacle, and called Aaron and Miriam, and they both came forth. And he said, Hear now my words. If there be a prophet among you, I, Yahweh, will make myself known unto him in a vision, and will speak unto him in a dream.
Right. Prophets receive their instructions in dreams and visions. Am I asleep? Do I look asleep to y'all? Do I look like I'm awake right now? Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? Do you think I'm having a vision right now? Does it appear that I am reading? Does that fit prophecy? Reading. What is the problem here? You better learn how to call a spade a spade. Go ahead.
My servant Moshe is not so, who is faithful in all my house. With him will I speak mouth to mouth, even apparently, and not in dark speeches.
So Moshe was more than a prophet, but the prophets are going to receive their things in dreams and visions. And all the things we read amongst the prophets. What do they say? I was in a trance, such and such. They receive, and they're telling you all these things that happen in their vision or their dream. What did Yosef get? He was able to understand dreams. He was having all of these dreams, which were prophecies of what would happen to the children of Israel. Dreams and visions. How do you link that up with teaching? How do you link that up with reading? Because you're vagabond. That's how you do that. Did you finish that?
And the similitude of Yahweh shall he behold. Wherefore then were you not afraid to speak against my servant Moshe?
Right. Let's go to Ephesians chapter 4. And sometimes folks have this tendency to want to listen to somebody because they say, I'm an elder. I told y'all, they're elders and then they're just olders. Some of them are just an older. They're not elders. Ephesians chapter 4, and we're going to read verses 1 through 11. Now we're going to see if the same letters that people are reading to try to convict you to not have a head covering, let's see if they say praying and prophesying and teaching is all the same. Let's see if the same letters, the same brother, matter of fact, because the same one that said this too. So let's see if he agrees with the vagabonds. Go ahead.
I therefore, the prisoner of the Adonai, beseech you that you walk worthy of the vocation wherewith you are called.
The vocation, the job that you were given, walk worthy of the job that you have. Okay.
With all lowliness and meekness, with long suffering, forbearing one another in love, endeavoring to keep the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace.
Right, but you don't do that to the point that you accept bad teaching. Saul, when Cephas started to cause a problem with his job by that dissimulation, it says he withstood him to the face. Now this was the rock on which the church was formed. But now you causing a problem with my job. My job was to go to these Euro Gentiles. Now you causing a problem. You don't try to keep the peace while somebody walking all over your authority. Go ahead.
There is one body and one spirit, even as you are called in one hope of your calling. One Adonai, one faith, one baptism, one Elohim and Father of all, who who is above all, and through all, and in you all. But on every one of us is given grace according to the measure of the gift of the Mashiach.
You see the but? It's one faith, one baptism. We got all of this. But, unto every one of us is given grace according to the measure of the gift of the Mashiach. So now, there's some separation in these gifts. Go ahead.
Wherefore he saith, when he ascended up on high, he led captivity captive, and gave gifts unto men. Now that he ascended, what is it but that he also descend first into the lower parts of the earth? He that descended is the same also that ascended up far above all heavens, that he might fill all things. And he gave some apostles, and some prophets, and some evangelists.
What? So this is different? So you mean, wait a minute, so the prophets, what? So the prophets ain't teachers? What? Read that again.
And he gave some apostles, and some prophets, and some evangelists, and some pastors and teachers.
Wait a minute. So did he say it like it's different? The Vagabond Jews said, if you're reading and you're teaching, then you're praying and prophesying. It says these are different gifts. According to the same person that said a man should not cover his head, the same one, he said these are different. Now, how you going to take one thing that the brother said, but then you cast aside the other thing that the same brother said? Because you vagabond. Let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 12. That's how you can take one part, jumping in and out of the book as it suits your particular liking. There's so many people walking around with this twisted doctrine. You praying, you prophesying, because you teach. Well, you teaching with the Spirit, so you must be prophesying. That be those people that have those gatherings. Right. Y'all better be careful going to them gatherings. Them people don't know what the hell they talking about. They gonna gather y'all and send y'all right to a lake of fire. You keep on going to them gatherings. They don't have no authority. What authority have they received? He says, gather together those that have made a covenant by sacrifice. What covenant have they made with Yahweh? Right. What sacrifices have they made? Spiritual sacrifices to lead a congregation. No, they gathering together because they don't want to be under no man's authority. What you think gonna happen when Christ set up a righteous governmental system? You're going to be under a man's authority. But you got people twisted. They only want to be under certain people's authority. Like, I just listen to Christ himself. You know how many people going to be up under him? What, you think you going to just take only orders from Christ? You're out your rabbit mind. Go ahead, bro.
1 Corinthians chapter 12 and verse 1. Now concerning spiritual gifts, brethren, I would not have you ignorant. You know that you were Gentiles, carried away unto these dumb idols, even as you were led. Wherefore I give you to understand that no man speaking by the Spirit of Elohim calleth Yahshua accursed, and that no man can say that Yahshua is the Adonai, but by the Holy Ghost. Now there are diversities of gifts, but the same Spirit.
Diversities of gifts. Now these gifts are different. Let's see if this same brother, let's see what he says about these gifts. Again, in another place. Go ahead.
And there are differences of administrations, but the same
Differences of administrations? This brother's deep. Go ahead.
And there are diversities of operations, but it is the same Elohim which worketh all in all. But the manifestation of the Spirit is given to every man to profit withal. For to one is given by the Spirit the word of wisdom, to another the word of knowledge by the same Spirit, to another faith by the same Spirit, to another the gifts of healing by the same Spirit, to another the working of miracles, to another prophecy, to another discerning of spirits, to another divers kinds of tongues, to another the interpretation of tongues.
All of these things are set separate. Yet, them vagabonds gonna try to tell you if you're doing one, you're doing all. These are diversities of gifts. These people have different gifts. All gifts are not the same. Now, how they missed that? Because they ain't got no business teaching nobody. That's how they missed it. Go ahead.
And they all got the Spirit.
Right. They were given this gift of the Spirit to do this job, but let them tell it. Them vagabonds, they got the Spirit. That's why you seen them brothers have to go out of here fleeing buck naked. Because they thought they had the Spirit to do something, and they jumped in something that they wasn't given. See, you have to be given the Spirit to do that thing. See, it's talking about, let's see, for one, is given the Spirit the word of wisdom, to another the word of knowledge by the same Spirit, to another faith, another gifts of healing by the same Spirit. You want to hear something about the word? You want to get some direction? Come and ask me. You want to get some healing? Don't call me. If you, look, I can pray for you, but I can't make no guarantee. I ain't seen that gift be given to me. I don't pray for somebody and they turned out all right, but I ain't never put my hands on nobody and they had a crooked leg and the leg straightened up. So I can't make no guarantees to you there. Go ahead.
Verse 11. But all these work at that one and self same Spirit, dividing to every man severally as he will. For as the body is one, and hath many members, and all the members that one body, being many, are one body, so also is the Mashiach.
Right. Jump to verse 27.
Now you are the body of the Mashiach, and members in particular. And Elohim hath set some in the church.
Elohim have set some in the church. Go ahead.
First apostles. Secondarily prophets.
Okay, hold on now. Hold on. He's separating these things. These things have levels then. First apostles. Secondarily prophets. Go ahead.
Thirdly teachers.
Now why he didn't say prophets and teachers together? Then you teaching, you prophesying, you praying, you doing everything. Why he separating these? Right. Go ahead.
After that, miracles. Then gifts of healing. Helps. Governments. Diversities of tongues.
Right. Now, let's go ahead and put the icing on the cake. Go ahead.
Are all apostles?
Say it ain't so. Go ahead.
Are all prophets? Are all teachers?
What? Brother, stop it. He's separating these. Are all apostles? Are all prophets? Are all teachers? Let them vagabonds tell you, if you reading, you praying, you prophesying, you teaching, it's all the same thing. The same brother who they got that from say otherwise. Go ahead.
Are all workers of miracles? Have all the gifts of healing? Do all speak with tongues? Do all interpret? But covet earnestly the best gifts.
Right. Covet earnestly the best gift. The best gift is the one that was given to you. I can't deal with some gift that was given to another brother. It wasn't given to me. So when we come into a situation and one of these brothers or one of these sisters can do something, that's who I'm calling. I'm not finna say, you know what, man, Yahweh done some pretty good things by me. I think I can do this. Hey, bro, I'm not that electricity, bro. I'm not touching that electricity. No, that gift wasn't given to me. See, I done touched that electricity wrong before. And it made me holler like a girl with pink socks on. And I didn't even remember that I was screaming. So I touched it again and screamed again. And then all the women in the room were laughing so hard. They were like, baby, we didn't think you were going to touch it again. So I said, so I did scream. She was like, yeah, baby, you screamed real loud. Right. So, note to self, don't touch electricity. Got it. Not my gift. Go ahead, brother, you finish that?
And yet show I unto you a more excellent way.
All right, let's go to Hebrews chapter 5. Hebrews chapter 5.
Hebrews chapter 5 and verse 1. For every high priest taken from among men is ordained for men in things pertaining to Elohim, that he may offer both gifts and sacrifices for sins.
Now, understand, this high priest, this is what Yahshua is to the children of Israel. He is the high priest. So what do you think the apostles were? They were under him. So they were under priests. But see, you're going to have these vagabond people tell you that the priesthood was done away with. The word says that the priesthood was changed, for there was nothing spoken about the children of Yehudah being in the priesthood. But see, there was a reason for that. Because Yahshua then was our God King high priest. The kings come out of Yehudah, and the priests came out of Levi. He was both. This is why he was called after the order of Melchizedek, being king and priest. They don't understand what they're teaching. Go ahead.
Who can have compassion on the ignorant, and on them that are out of the way, for that he himself also is compassed with infirmity. And by reason hereof he ought, as for the people, so also for himself, to offer for sins. And no man taketh this honor unto himself, but he that is called of Elohim, as was Aaron.
No man takes this honor unto himself. See, when you find them gathering brothers, they wasn't taught to do nothing. See, they call themselves. Right. Go ahead.
So also Christ glorified not himself to be made an high priest, but he that said unto him, You are my son, today have I begotten you. As he saith also in another place, You are a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek.
Right. Melchizedek is not going to die. You are a priest forever. There's nobody else that's going to come and take your place. You are a priest forever. Then you got brothers saying that they are a priest after the order of Melchizedek. So you're going to live forever. So you can honestly sit here and stand before us and tell us that you ain't never going to die. Right. Go ahead.
Who in the days of his flesh, when he had offered up prayers and supplications with strong crying and tears unto him that was able to save him from death, and was heard in that he feared, though he were a son, yet learned he obedience by the things which he suffered. And being made perfect, he became the author of eternal salvation unto all them that obey him, called of Elohim and high priest after the order of Melchizedek, of whom we have many things to say, and hard to be uttered, seeing you are dull of hearing. For when for the time you ought to be teachers, you have need that one teach you again, which be the first principles of the oracles of Elohim.
For when the time you ought to be teachers, you have need that one teach you again, which be the first principles of the oracles of Elohim. So you have to ask yourself, all these Facebook teachers, they sit at home, they got a Facebook that ain't even got no face on the book. And you gonna trust that? That could be the feds teaching you. How he don't have a face on his book? But you gonna take scriptural advice from a Facebook that don't have a face. Go ahead.
And are become such as have need of milk, and not of strong meat. For everyone that useth milk is unskillful in the word of righteousness, for he is a babe. But strong meat belongeth to them that are of full age, even those who by reason of use have their senses exercised to discern both good and evil.
Right. So then you have elders who have been exercised, and then you just have people who are old. Let's go to Ezekiel chapter 44. Because understand, a lot of this doctrine come from people who will proclaim, they will tell you that they are an elder to try and get, demand some kind of respect that you listen to them. And you listen to them and see what come out of their mouth. And then you'll be able to see if they are an elder or an older. You'll be able to see real quick, just listen. Ezekiel chapter 44. And we're going to read verses 15 through 18. Now, we've already read, are all prophets, are all teachers? We see the separation in that. But this is this prophetic vision of the future temple. You have to understand that, first of all, animal sacrifices have been put away for a time, not forever. This is the future temple. All right, Ezekiel chapter 44, and we're going to start this at verse 15.
But the priests, the Levites, the son of Zadok, that kept the charge of my sanctuary when the children of Israel went astray from me, they shall come near to me to minister unto me, and they shall stand before me to offer unto me the fat and the blood, saith the Adonai Elohim.
Right, and if people tell you to stay away from the Old Testament and you don't understand these things, so when you go back and read this, you think that this doesn't have any particular anything, because you read in here about sacrifices and you don't understand that the future temple, these things are going to be set up. Yahshua not going to die again for your sin. What do you think? He supposed to be offered again? He supposed to continue to be offered up so you can keep doing whatever it is you want to do? Lies and propaganda. Go ahead, bro.
You know, bro, earlier you were talking about, it says, every man praying or prophesying with his head uncovered. Back in Hebrews 5 and verse 1, it said, every priest taken from among men. That means he's not a man anymore. You've been taken away from among men.
They didn't hear that, bro. They didn't hear that. Go ahead.
Verse 16, they shall enter into my sanctuary, and they shall come near to my table to minister unto me, and they shall keep my charge. And it shall come to pass that when they enter in at the gates of the inner court.
Now, this is the future temple. This is the prophecy of how things are going to be done. Go ahead.
They shall be clothed with linen garments, and no wool shall come upon them, whilst they minister in the gates of the inner court and within. They shall have linen bonnets upon their heads.
So while those priests are doing their job, they're going to have head coverings. Go ahead.
And shall have linen breeches upon their loins. They shall not gird themselves with anything that causeth sweat.
Right. So, without even going and reading all of the things that it says how the priests are supposed to be adorned. Why you think even when you turn on the TV or the internet, you see them brothers with their long garments on? Where do you think that come from? It comes from how the priests are supposed to be covered. But then they get to the head covering part and they say, we're not going to do this. Because they refuse to be under authority. But let us hear the conclusion of this matter. Let us go to Exodus chapter 19. And let's start that at verse 3. Exodus chapter 19.
And Moshe went up unto Elohim, and Yahweh called unto him out of the mountain, saying, Thus shall you say to the house of Jacob, and tell the children of Israel, You have seen what I did unto the Egyptians, and how I bare you on eagle's wings, and brought you unto myself. Now therefore, if you will obey my voice indeed, and keep my covenant, then you shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people, for all the earth is mine. And you shall be unto me a kingdom of priests.
A kingdom of priests is what Israel is to be. Now, it just told you that these priests were to be covered. You can read how Aaron and his sons were adorned. They had head coverings. Then you read in the beginning, Israel was set to be a kingdom of priests, although he only had one tribe of priests to start with. Then he goes on and opens up for other tribes to be priests, and then spreads the word. Yahweh already knew what he was going to do from the start. Israel is to be a kingdom of priests. Go ahead.
And an holy nation. These are the words which you shall speak unto the children of Israel.
Right. So consider all of these things and make sure you keep your notes, because I guarantee you at some point you're going to have to answer for walking in obedience. You're going to have to answer to people who say, you a man, you're not supposed to be covered. Yet it says that Israel is to be a kingdom of priests, and priests ought to be covered. It says the name of Yahweh is blasphemed through you. When the Euro Gentiles see how you walk, then now they blaspheme that holy name by which you are called. So that means you're supposed to carry yourself a certain way. So let us consider these things as we get ready and prepare to keep our holy days. Let's make sure that we cleanse ourselves as much as we can. Thereby, those days will truly be holy, not just taking some regular observance of some things and showing up on a few days. That's all we're going to do for today. Remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.